But there's also a possibility that it could become, could go the other way, in terms of Republican-Democrat dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, oh, really? You think a Democrat could end up?
Yes.
Really?
Very possible.
As far as we've come and with all the success and all the new people voting the right way, really? Well, that's...
And I think it's sad
That's
because
depressing.
it is sad because, again, in a vacuum of leadership, sometimes people will be left with choices that are not good. And I think, unfortunately, given a variety of circumstances, that may be what we're facing today in Miami.
All right, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. I should say outgoing Mayor Francis Suarez. We've done this many times before, sometimes digitally, sometimes on location in Miami, sometimes in this room. Right before we sat down, we agreed no jackets.
No jackets.
You could be retiring. This could be your retirement show right now.
It's like a weekend thing, right?
I'm very glad to have you. Everyone knows how I feel about the free state of Florida and this city in particular, which I think is the number one city in this country. We're going to talk about all the successes and all of those things. But your tenure is coming to an end. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming election.
Likely.
Well, why don't we start with that?
Sure. Why likely?
Why likely?
So the way it works in Miami, and not everywhere is like this, you have an election, which will be November 4th. Just like in New York, there'll be a November 4th election. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure. No doubt. And to win, you have to get 50% plus one. So what happens is there are probably half a dozen serious candidates. So the likelihood that someone reaches that 50% plus one threshold is very low.
Yeah.
So there will more likely be a runoff. The runoff will be in early December, December 8th. It takes a few days to certify the results. And then the new winner is sworn in 5 days after the certification. So when you do all the math, the likely first day for the new mayor, last day for me is, I think, noon on December 17th. So that's my arrivederci day, most likely.
So in that you have had such a successful tenure here, and I know you love going through the numbers, so I'd love to hear some numbers about the economy and homelessness. I still tell people all the time that you literally once, I was live on air, I said something about we have 100 homeless people in Miami, and you texted me during the show and you gave me the actual number.
Yeah.
So I know we can do all that stuff.
Sure.
But as the tenure is ending here, there is another Suarez who's well known in this town who is running.
That's right.
But I'm a little surprised that we don't have somebody that everyone is like, oh, this is going to be the winner, in that we've had such a successful run with you. So what is going on here?
Well, I think part of it is, if you look at historically in Miami, you've had a dynamic mayor, and then it's almost like the city needs to take a break from all the dynamism.
Yeah.
And then they hire someone who's not quite as dynamic. So my predecessor wasn't a super dynamic guy, wasn't particularly a visionary. His predecessor was a super dynamic guy. So we've sort of followed that pattern. It is a little bit worrisome to me as a lifelong Miamian, the first Miami-born mayor, that someone like us, we're about the same age, right? Doesn't feel that they either can or have the desire to run for office in what we both agree, and you just said, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, is the best city in America, and arguably one of the best cities in the world, in my opinion. And I have the numbers to prove it, of course. But really, it's a little bit of an indictment on politics as a whole. I think it's an indictment. We're talking a little bit off the air about the mainstream media and the character assassinations and sort of how they make it really difficult for good people to want to serve, right? Miami's unique. I get to work in the private sector, which is nice. But a lot of people are...
For the record, I've only had a lawyer once in my life for one little thing about a year ago, and I'm sitting across from him right now, and we dealt with...
And I think we dealt with
it very quickly,
Yes. And so I'm a professional, right? And so I actually think part of our great success is the fact that I can be a professional. And so I'm always tethered to the private sector. So I have a foot in the private sector, foot in the public sector, obviously always being careful to avoid conflicts and any ethical issues that may come up. But it's important. If you look at, the president of the United States, I think one of his main reasons for his success is how much time he spent in the private sector. Mm-hmm. He is not a prototypical politician, right? And I think we were talking off the air as well about how he has changed what it's like to be presidential, right? Presidential before, we would think Ronald Reagan, right? This guy who was the great communicator, buttoned up, always looking perfect, always saying the right thing. And I think we struggled sometimes at the beginning with Trump. I know I did, because he didn't fit that mold. I think what he has demonstrated, particularly now in the second term, but certainly in the first term as well, is that he has redefined what it means to be presidential. And he's done it by being a strong leader, by being a great negotiator, by being someone who is the most resilient person I've ever encountered. I've never seen a person more resilient, more under attack, more able to glance at the blows. I was in the White House a few weeks ago for the G20 announcement. I'm sure you're going to want to talk about that. And the way he manages the press, I mean, he's sitting in the Resolute desk. They're all there. And it's like an elementary school teacher with elementary school students. You know, he's sitting there going, be quiet. Yeah. You're being disrespectful. Where are you from? And the guy's like, I'm from Australia. He goes, when the Australian delegation comes, I'm going to tell them you're a bad kid. You know what I mean? And it's funny, but it's true. You know, no one has ever treated these people in the way that they treat other people, right? And I think he is, for the first time, redefining that. So going back to Miami, you know, I think our residents are going to have a tough choice, right? They're going to have to pick the best of the bunch. And hopefully they do, because I think Miami is politician-proof, frankly. I really do. But a good...
That sounds scary to me. Well, think it is politician-proof?
I do at some level, right? I think Miami is such a resilient city. We're so dynamic. We have such a strong private sector, right? We have such a strong community that, you know, government, most of the time I always say, I just don't want to screw things up, right, as government. You know, I'm not trying to be the hero. I'm trying not to be the villain, right? And I think we've obviously been very successful with that. But I also think that what I've tried to do is redefine who we are as a city. And I do think a leader has that ability. And so we'll see who among the current crop can articulate that.
So one of these guys has your last name, and he was mayor of Miami. And I assume you are voting for him. Your father, we're talking about, obviously.
Correct. Yeah.
So why in that you're Suarez, this thing has been so successful, he's a name here. I mean, why isn't he running away with this thing? Is all of this just a function of our success, that people aren't that interested in politics here because it's going so well? Something like that?
I think first off, you know, he was a great mayor in 1985 to 1980. He was the first Cuban mayor. I learned a tremendous amount from him. I am in part who I am because of my father. I think what makes it challenging is, you know, politics is about fundraising. It's about a variety of things. And, you know, my dad is kind of old school when it comes to that. You know, he's the kind of guy that doesn't really believe in any of that stuff. And it's understandable. I mean, he ran and went door to door back in the 80s. You know, he had 2 graduate degrees from Harvard. He's written like 11 books. He's an intellectual. So he's very idealistic in that sense. I wish sometimes you were a little more pragmatic, because I think to win elections nowadays, unfortunately, you have to, you know, publicize yourself, raise money. And so I wish him the best. Obviously, I hope that he comes out on top. I think he's got a shot. But there's also a possibility that it could become, could go the other way, you know, in terms of Republican-Democrat dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, oh, really? You think a Democrat could end up?
Yes.
Really?
Very possible.
As far as we've come, and with all the success and all the new people voting the right way, really? Well, that's...
And I think it's sad,
that's
because
depressing.
It is sad, because, again, in a vacuum of leadership, you know, sometimes people will be left with choices that are not good. And I think, unfortunately, given a variety of circumstances, that may be what we're facing today in Miami.
If you're craving more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics, check out our politics playlist right here. And if you don't want to miss any future videos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.